Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we're going to be talking about a pretty kind of important update, I would go and say, in regards to Microsoft and Activision. And a lot of people are kind of curious, what's been the state of what's going on with this actual big acquisition? What's going on in general? Is it still going through? Are there any mishaps, or is anything else kind of going on with it? And, well, at least in my mind, I feel like this is probably one of the biggest gaming news still for this entire year. But there has actually been a little bit of a nice update. We've actually had official statements, going to talk about what's going to be going on, and as well kind of just talk about a little bit of hiccups too as well that might not actually go and make the acquisition go through. Although so far everything does seem like it's going smooth and doesn't seem too bad. Reminder, a lot of these things take a very long time in terms of like litigation, talking with employees, talking with companies, talking with governments, and don't forget as well, other governments too, like in the UK and Europe and other regions, also do have a lot of their own laws that basically has to have a massive checklist over and over again to, well, basically make it go and happen. So we have a lot of stuff to go talk about, a lot of things to go bring on up, so let's go talk about it. And as well, just kind of always find this very intriguing information nonetheless, because, well, I just kind of curious on how this will actually affect gaming as a whole in the future. So let's go and talk about it. As well, if any of you guys are brand new, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on, as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch room down below, the Weeble and Coinbase down below, and everything else as well down below. The Samsung links, the Xbox links, the giveaways, and all that good junk down below. And let's go and dive in the video itself. So as I mentioned, Microsoft actually have funny enough, a little bit of good news when it comes to this. So we've had a little bit of news kind of on-off throughout the past few weeks or so when it comes to this. So I kind of just want to give you guys an update because I've had a few people ask about it. But as of right now, Microsoft actually is going and encouraging that a lot of this acquisition is actually moving pretty fast and is actually getting a little bit quicker and closer towards the end of the deal itself. So at the end of the day, it's very nice. At the same time, it is still $69 billion. So either way, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny, a lot of like looking, and just at the end of the day, it's kind of a big deal. It's probably one of the biggest deals out there. So let's go talk about this a little bit more. As you guys know, this is including almost every IP in regards to Activision, where Activision itself is a huge, big business, valued at $68.7 billion during at least the time of the deal. And funny enough, I still kind of feel like this deal is kind of rough. Mainly just because, you know, with the stock market going down, a lot of these also tech giants also going down, it really hasn't seemed too important in terms of like the price point. Like I feel like a lot of the price point actually has been holding up as well. And if they probably would have announced this and talked about this like literally maybe 4 months later, 6 months later, in all honesty, they probably could have saved a few $1 billion. And I mean, you guys may not be thinking, oh, like going to 68 to like 65 won't be that much. I mean, that's still $4 billion. It's a lot of money. So it was announced back in January that the Xbox owners intended to purchase Activision Blizzard in like the $69 billion deal, and it's literally the biggest one ever. We've had a few other ones like Zynga and stuff like that, and Take-Two, and a few other things as well with like Bethesda and all of that. But as of right now, the Microsoft president, Brad Smith, has now been claiming and talking about the fact that the company's proposed acquisition is actually going along pretty well, surprisingly enough. When it comes to all this stuff, it kind of goes to show that Microsoft kind of somehow is still skating along a lot of all these antitrust big regulations. One of the biggest issues I would say is both in America and in the EU. Because as you guys know, Microsoft is a very big gaming corporation. I do think now with the very 4 other various big boy retailers such as like, PlayStation, Tencent, and a few other very big kind of conglomerates, even maybe you can even utilize Epic Games as for example, that there's enough competition still and enough other individual IPs, etc., that while it's not a full-on monopoly, I think we could all collectively agree there's probably like maybe 5 or 6 kind of major corporations that own most of it. And at least as of now, there's enough I do think that will still make this go through. But as of right now, as we mentioned, Brad Smith's been pushing for the fact that they will be actually moving on, and it actually might even be happening sooner rather than later. So Microsoft themselves have even said that it hoped to kind of complete this deal in the very first half of 2023. And that's, of course, obviously depending on, the closing conditions, all the regulatory reviews, having the lawyers go through it, and go from there. So as of right now, the U.S. Federal Trade Commission is actually handling an antitrust review of the deal. So basically, this is determining right now if the basically takeover for this on Xbox would be unfair in terms of an unfair competitive advantage. So that just be in regards to, say, like the Switch or PlayStation. If they were to go buy out all these major games, so the Overwatch, the Call of Duty especially, and all the other various things such as World of Warcraft, etc., would companies like Steam, would they be very negatively affected? At this point, I'd probably say no. I think Steam itself is doing fine enough. Or say would various other subscription things such as PS Plus be affected heavily? I would say no, not that bad. Or what about like other various games? We could probably go around up and say no, probably because those games, such as like PlayStation, still have their own unutilized IPs that they could still dive into. So they maybe Killzone or other various games that once again still kind of separates them out enough and kind of spreads out the overall, I guess, like vibes from all this stuff as best they possibly can. And to me, that makes a lot of good sense. I love the idea that we actually can still see this acquisition go through. Now, I'm definitely more of a PlayStation guy, so would I prefer PlayStation still having Call of Duty in the end of the day? I'm going to say yes, but I also have a PC, so I can just utilize it in Game Pass, and I might even go and save some money because I don't have to go and pay and buy the game in the first place. So right now, in an interview too, is the past few weeks, with a Belgian business publication, El Echo, Smith himself has also said that Microsoft has received also requests for information on the deal from also European and UK competition regulators. And that's kind of a big issue too, because while it is kind of seeming like it's going well, like we're kind of seeing like how like basically all this stuff is going kind of good. Like it's progressing. It's getting to the next step, and that's usually a good sign. Because let's say you're trying to go set up a lemonade stand, and I'm not sure why I've mentioned that like a few times just recently, but if you have a lemonade stand and you're already like buying the lemonade and you're setting up the stand, you're kind of already in the first position. Like rather than just have the idea, whenever you go in the store and getting the mix and water, you're kind of like making those steps. So we're kind of like in that very early stage still for this acquisition, but it does seem like it's progressing. He also did go and suggest right now it's more in like the middle phase. So the initial stage was the past few months where they had the buyout, they announced it, everyone's talking about it, etc. And now we're kind of in more of the, I would say, boring phase, where there still is a kind of a big issue when it comes to European law, where Europe themselves and all these really big, competitive, basically investors, when it comes to like these big government bodies making sure everything's okay, they want to make sure this deal's not too one-sided or messing stuff up. And while America may actually go and approve it and allow it to happen, Europe themselves actually may not, which is a very intriguing thing just to see. So, as of right now, he goes and states, it's moving fast, at least fast enough for an acquisition of this size. And as you guys know, there's just like so many layers. Like you sign the papers and then it goes down to lawyers and then everything else, then the accountants and then the normal employees and then the managers and the acquisitions. And a lot of these things will have like separate studios and separate rents and just everything else in between. Like imagine trying to go and buy like an apartment complex. You just have to know every single person's individual contract, what they're doing, when it's ending. And that's just one building, let alone everything. So you have to go pay for the rent. You have to make sure everything's being paid. You have to make sure the games keep on getting on sale. Like it's a really big process, not even just by the lawyers in like law, but everything else too. So he said, we have received requests from information on the subject here in Brussels, but also then as well in London and Washington. We answer questions, we give briefings, and we provide the information requested. One of our attorneys summed it up nicely by saying, we're coming to the end of the beginning, and now we're entering the beginning of the middle. It's a long process, and we're still at the stage where we're answering questions for us, of course. The sooner it's done, the better, but we will respect the process. Microsoft proposed merger with the Activision Blizzard would actually give Xbox maker exclusive ownership of, I'm sure you guys will know a lot of stuff, Call of Duty, World of Warcraft, Overwatch, Crash Bandicoot, Candy Crush, and a bunch of other various games too as well, and they did also go and still state that they want to go and keep on making, say, Call of Duty games for, say, PlayStation. But at the end of the day, there is still a lot of hiccups. Number one is in regards to like the regulators, they still want to make sure that, well, everything's fine, everything's legal, and they could still put a stop to it. And I do believe, at least to my understanding, if, say, America is okay with it, but, say, Europe isn't, there's going to be some problems, and that's just by itself either way. And there's also even still issues, too, with, like, Bobby Kotick, who has been still having issues and everything else with the drama tied into it, and still may even be a CEO. There's a lot of stuff everywhere. There's a lot of drama with this, and there's a lot of little step backs that might still be happening. So it does kind of seem like it's still progressing. It's still moving on. Like, it still is going to follow through, but at the end of the day, we still have so many potential roadblocks. That's probably why the stock itself still has a little bit of a leeway, because there is always a chance it doesn't go through, and there's always a chance that at the end of the day, they can't actually go and even legally go and do it. So that's kind of one of those things I'm worried about. At the end of the day, though, I have like I have a PC, I have a PS5, I have a Switch. So no matter what kind of happens, I can still play a lot of these games, like the Call of Duties, I can still play the Warcraft, still play the Overwatches, etc. So I'm not too upset about it or worried, but I'm sure at the end of the day, I'm sure there's a lot of big lawyers that are like, well, we want to drop $70 billion, and I don't even want to know what would even happen to the Activision company, both on their stock as well as also their games and community, if it somehow does not go through. If you guys want to go speculate down below, you guys totally can if you guys would want to, but at the end of the day, this definitely seems still like a somewhat scary situation to go and be in. So I just want to let you guys know I do appreciate you guys all so much for watching, and I appreciate you guys all so much for this. Give me your thoughts and comments down below, but at least it's kind of a nice little update because a lot of people ask about it, and as well, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on as well for the brand new PlayStation 5 giveaway. Amazon links down below for the PS5 Digital Console Controller, Twitter and Twitch room down below, the Weeble and Coinbase down below, everything else down below, the Xboxes and everything else, PS5 giveaways and all that junk as well, and give me your thoughts and comments down below.